Oh boy, do we have an update for you. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Fostering the Future podcast, a show about all things child welfare, dependency, adoption, and foster care. Here are your hosts, veterans in the world of child welfare, Jack and Kat.
We believe that every human has incredible and equal value regardless of what side of the courtroom we sit on. We hope that everyone feels welcome and accepted here on Fostering the Future.
Make sure you follow us on Facebook or Instagram as Fostering the Future Podcast, or check us out on our website at fosteringthefuturepodcast.org.
So, Jen, we have had a little bit of an update on the Hernandez case this week, have we not?
Yes, we have.
I was having a very busy day, so it was much later in the day before I saw that anything happened. But when I got the news, I was in the middle of 20 different things and I started screaming when I saw it on my phone. I scared the tar out of the small child near me and I had to leave the room. I went outside and was just like yelping it up because it was such a shocker for me. But I was so emotional over it. I was like screaming and crying and I just like had this bubble of joy inside of me. And then I thought of you and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine what this must have been like to see this happen in person and to feel the emotions and the relief probably of everybody in the courtroom, maybe everybody other than DFCS. Can you share a little bit about what it turned out to be?
Yeah, so it was supposed to be a review hearing, just one of their every 30 to 60 days review hearings. So we, along with everyone else, and I even told Matt and Taki, I'm not being negative on purpose, but I'm not going into this with any hopes. I'm always hopeful for good things, but I didn't go into this looking like something great was going to happen. I looked at it like just a review. The last real court hearing was January 19th. That was the disposition hearing. From there, a guardian ad litem was assigned to the relatives that were hopeful placement, assigned to their home to do a social evaluation of their home, of their marriage, everything. It's pretty in-depth. We were told by the judge we would come back March 1st to discuss placement of the girls. When we went back March 1st, we were all under the impression, especially after reading the report from CASA, the report from the girls' attorney, and the report from this specially assigned guardian ad litem. We were all under the impression okay, every report says put the girls with the family. This is great. March 1st did not go that way. I can't tell you, I cannot explain why. I mean, everyone was confused. It was just broken because we went being told it was going to be about placement. And it was not going to happen. But there was no real reason. Now, at that time, DFCS made this statement through their attorney that if Your Honor moves the girls with the family, we want to recuse ourselves from this case. And I thought, well, bye, Felicia. Okay, bye. If you don't want to be part of it, you think the girls are in so much danger if they go, but if they get placed, you're all of a sudden, if you don't get your way, you want to be done. Okay, fine. But that's not how the judge saw it. So she just basically was like, well, I'm not going to do direct placement. So see you guys in June. The family asked attorneys, what could be done? Well, we were advised you can put in a motion for an emergency placement, because the fictive kin who had the girls at this time could no longer be a stable home for them. She had reasons why the girls couldn't stay anymore. So they were going to be moved to yet another foster home. So an emergency motion was put in to request the court, please don't do that. Let them go with their family. This blood relative who would like to have the girls, who already has a very strong bond with the girls, right? This is a very close relative. Go on vacations together, spend time together. It's maternal aunt and uncle. So we put in that placement. Unfortunately, an attorney did not show up that day. The other attorney tried to be counsel for both mom and dad. The judge would not allow that. We put in a motion for another emergency. It got denied. So basically we were told you can come back in June for the review. That's why I didn't go in looking like anything great was going to happen. I was just like, okay, it's just a review. I know what it feels like to be excited and have my heart tore out. So I'm just not going to be excited.
When we talked about that last week, I definitely felt like nothing was going to happen. I've been to so many reviews or court hearings that are just like, you go in and they're like, okay, is everybody here? Cool. Let's go down a checklist. And literally 3 minutes later, you're done. When we had talked last week, it really didn't seem like anything was happening. So much so that even though like anytime one of these parents have a hearing, I'm like, I got to ask Jennifer, I got to find out how it went. I wasn't even thinking that because I'm like, oh, it's probably just going to be like everybody goes in, they schedule the next hearing and that's it. So when I saw it, like, that's why I was so shocked because like it literally sounded, I think I said, oh, another nothing burger is what I texted you or something like that. Like a nothing.
And I agree with you because we went for a special set date assigned by the judge and literally nothing good happened. So it's like, why would I think otherwise? Let's hope the attorneys do a good job getting things on record, right? Because we want things on record for the criminal trial. That was kind of my goal. And I'm going to be there to support them. The courtroom was packed out again. It always is, with a lot of church family, friends, advocates, just, people who care. Sometimes people from the community that just are like, hey, we're going to come support you. The judge had set this for the day. The judge made the comment back on March 1st, every time I'm in this room with this case, we're here all day. So I'll go ahead and just put it down for the day. And I do remember the defects case manager, was like, oh, Your Honor, I have to leave the next day for vacation. So I don't want a continuance, or we need to get everything done that day, not a second day. And then later this week before the court happened, the defects caseworker went through the attorneys to say, oh, I have a plane to catch at 3, so we need to be done. So anyway, we knew we kind of needed to finish things up. The judge asked for all counsel to meet in chambers or in a conference room before the hearing actually started. And we were all like, what is going on? Like, why are they doing this? And she ended up basically just saying, look, I don't want to go over past stuff. Let's stick with new stuff. I'm going to hear all witnesses today. And this is about placement. And I was like, holy moly, like this is about placement. Okay. So then it felt more real to me, like, okay, now I allowed a little bit of hope to stir up in me. The prosecution, the state, had one of the little girl's therapists, her play therapist, as their witness. And I'm not sure where this therapist really stands in the system, but I'm just going to tell you her testimony helped the family immensely. I don't think that was her plan. She may be a really lovely person. I'm not sure, but she started out adamantly against the girls making the move. So for those who maybe don't know, if you call a witness, if the state calls the witness, they get to ask them questions first, right? And then every other attorney gets to cross-examine. So the state is asking the questions. Basically, how's Aria doing? Oh, here's how she was when she came. Here's where she's at now. There has been a decline in our sweet Aria, obviously, from where she was to when you go through 4 or 5 homes, 4 and 5 daycares, multiple transporters.
Also because she was very attached to her family when she was removed to begin with. So being separated from her family that she was attached to.
Absolutely. That's a great, fantastic point. She didn't need to be removed. She didn't have an unsafe environment that she needed to be sheltered from, right? You know that. I know that. She was pretty adamant. Would this be good for Aria or hurt her to have another move? Oh, no, this would not be good. She should not have another move. Well, the home they're in is not an adoptive home. It's just a partnership parenting home, which in Georgia means foster home, who is not wanting to adopt. The defense attorneys did a good job at saying, well, what happens down the road? God forbid mom and dad go to jail for their criminal charges. Then the girls have to be moved to a family member. Like, is that worth it to keep these girls in that home, building this attachment just to move them again? Initially, she had said, like, oh, you should not move the girls. That would be bad for Aria. But once the defense attorneys and the guardian ad litem started asking these questions, she couldn't say, she couldn't give she had to be truthful. And she's like, yeah, going with family would be better. Being with your culture is better. She's of Thai heritage. I mean, she can't do anything to do with her culture right now at all. So if she was living with somebody of the same heritage that can speak to her in that language, would that be beneficial? She had to say yes. Would this be, they even talked about, can kids who are having a hard time where they're at because of being moved around place to place, will it affect their romantic relationships one day? Will this affect them as a friend? Will this affect their job? Could they be dependent on drugs and alcohol? I mean, she went all into it. Yeah. And it's all truth. For those who don't know, 100%, what it does to your body, it changes your brain when kids go through these traumatic, scary events. And when it's ongoing and there's no end to it, it's terrifying for them. And that's how their body, flight, fight, they're in it all the time. So she basically ended up being a much better testimony for the family. There was just no way to argue that. Then the state had one other witness, which was the DFCS caseworker. I'm not even going to go to anything. I'm not even going to give her the limelight. I mean, it was lies and it was just ridiculous. She has never one time advocated for this family. And if she were to ever listen to any of these podcasts, I would love that. And for her to know, shame on you, because that's your job. Your job with DFCS, Department of Family and Children's Services, is to help this family reunite. And she would fight tooth and nail to divide this family as much as she could, causing a lot, whether it was lying, whether it was over talking parents in doctor's appointments, it doesn't matter. She never advocated for them. She testified.
So she did the opposite of her job.
Yes, absolutely. There's not been one email, one phone call, one in person where this woman has even shown this family an ounce of grace. Even if they were doing something to their kids, you should, as a social worker, see that reunification is number one priority until it absolutely isn't, for the safety of the kids.
It's literally her job to find out how to get the parent from where they are to where they need to be to get the kids home.
After that, I think we had one witness for the parents, and then we went to lunch. The defense attorneys had a counselor who came on. She did a stellar job, like amazing, like absolutely just uplifted this parent in a beautiful, truthful light. And then there was a visit supervisor who supervises the family visits. And again, put this family like on this beautiful pedestal of what amazing parents Matt and Taki are. I mean, it was awesome, right? And this is through a center that DFCS chose.
The thing for me is, whether a parent has done something wrong or not, for a parent to stand in front of a courtroom every time there's a hearing and basically be told a litany of all of their shortcomings and failures, I feel like, so my heart goes out to parents who even did something wrong and they're trying to work on it. And every time they have to go to court, it's like they're reminded what a failure they are. They're reminded of everything they've done wrong. So when you have someone get up there and be like, this mom is incredible. She is like a model mom, or this dad is so great with his kids and he interacts with them in a healthy, safe way. And I have no concerns. Like, were you able at all to see their expressions as they heard people talk about them, or see like how it made them feel?
I had a really good view of Matt, not so much of Taki where she was sitting, and she sits very still. She is, and actually, it's kind of funny that I'm saying that, and I'll tell you why. She sits very still. She's very elegant, and she's very soft, and she's very calm. That would never hurt anything in this whole world. I mean, she's the most precious person, and I mean that. She's way nicer than I could ever be. When she was sitting there, one of the things that is asked of a therapist was like, can you give us some markers, some red flags in your job that would tell you a parent may be at risk of harming their kids? One of the important things was somebody who's maybe erratic behavior. They get impatient very easily. They might, tap their foot repetitively if the counselor's running behind a little bit. They're irritated. They're slamming things. And I'm watching Taki. So it's just funny you asked that, because she's just sitting so careful and quiet. And that's just how she is. That's her demeanor. So both the therapist and this visiting supervisor just uplifted them with just amazing, just so good. It was exactly what we all needed to hear. But I think the highlight of this day, we had a break for lunch. We come back, there's closing arguments. Closing arguments started around 2. They did not end until right before 3. So it took a full hour. So to paint a picture for people, you have DFACS and DFACS attorney. You have father, his attorney. You have mom, her attorney, and a translator. Because sometimes Taki has a translator just in case there is something. Then you have the kid's attorney, which is also here in Georgia. You can be a guardian ad litem, you can be an attorney. You can be an attorney and a guardian ad litem, like 2 separate positions, right? So the girls have an attorney. Then there was a guardian ad litem that was appointed to this case back in January. The guardian ad litem that was appointed to this case back in January spoke, I swear it was at least 18 minutes for closing arguments. And it could have just ended right there. She did an absolute beautiful job. If ever anyone wanted to just speak truth, she did an amazing job. She cried during her closing arguments, heartfelt. It wasn't fake. It wasn't pretend. She wasn't putting on a show. She realized, I don't know how she felt in March when we went and things didn't go away. I couldn't really read her that day. Like, I had hoped she would have put up a bigger fight. I felt like she should have put up a bigger fight, in my opinion. But how much fighting can you do with a judge in a courtroom? I don't know. I imagine myself being like, Your Honor, sit back down. We're not done. But obviously, there's only so much you can do as an attorney. But I did not feel she fought hard enough then. That's just my own personal opinion, okay? But I'll tell you what, she made up for it yesterday because she just went on and on to say this courtroom is filled with fighting about, is there a medical condition? Is there not? And right now, the girls are being traumatized. It's clear things are bad for them right now. Not their current foster home. Current foster home was a wonderful person, really showed a lot of care and concern. But you cannot move 2 children around in a year to multiple homes, multiple daycares, and just think like everything's honky-dory just because they're in a home that's nice. So anyway, the guardian ad litem did a beautiful job. I think everyone was getting teary-eyed just during her stuff. The next person to give closing arguments was the girl's attorney, who I have so much to say, but I mean, if she ever did listen to this, maybe she would. Maybe she'll see it one day. I don't know. I don't want to be negative or mean, but I've been disappointed in her this entire time. That's just my personal opinion. I feel like she's failed these girls a lot over the 1 year that they've been in foster care. I'm disappointed in her, but she did a very good job standing up for them yesterday, and I appreciate that. Her report was really nice. I do appreciate that. I'm thankful for that, but I'm working on forgiving people for letting things go for this long. It's just hard for me. Every single minute of every single day matters to this family. And I feel like when you have kids of your own and you get to go home to them, but you're not stepping up for this family, to me, it's just shame on you. And I don't know how to really get past that, seeing what I've seen. After the 2 guardian ad litems, I think it was then the fathers, it was Matt's attorney who did an impeccable job. I mean, really well. It's hard to follow up with what the first guardian ad litem did. And I think Matt's attorney even said that, like, I don't really know how to follow up with that. But he did a great job. The mom's attorney, bless her heart, she said at the end, everyone stole my thunder. And she's right. Everyone said such great things, but she did a fantastic job reiterating where she stands, what she wanted for her client and for her client's kids. And then DFACS had their say. So you had 4 attorneys all give closing arguments to what is important for these girls. Emma, especially because of her age and her the possible medical conditions that we don't know is going on, and Aria because of her older age and her declining in her happiness, in her life. She is declining as a 4-year-old. So they gave all DFACS could basically say, I cannot wait to get transcripts, was whine that everybody in the room said, it feels like DFACS is on trial here. If the shoe fits.
Maybe they should be.
Maybe they should be. So she was very whiny. This attorney is she thinks she's bold and awesome. And she thinks she's powerful. She's just not. I mean, she's loud, so I'll give her that.
I mean, she's probably not held accountable very often.
No, she's not. She made the comment, everybody wanted us to run all these tests on Emma. And then when we run tests on Emma, everyone's mad. I don't know what that means because they've not run anything that anyone knows of. If they have, they've kept it all secret.
Well, and why would they keep it a secret?
Right. Like if you've run things, I mean, they claim they did an OI test where they ran 2 genes as soon as Emma was brought here. When you see the paperwork that was emailed finally to the parents months later, it says click here for more information. You can't even click on it. So they claim that it was a negative. And I don't think Emma has osteogenesis imperfecta. It probably was negative. But they never got a clear answer of it being negative. And they only ran 2 genes, by the way. They only ran 2 genes. So you need to run the full panel. She wasn't very good with her closing. It was just like, feel bad for us. Everyone's mean. She told the judge, Your Honor, if you're going to move the girls to this home, we asked to recuse ourselves, like she did back in January, from this case. Now, my understanding, I'm not a lawyer. My understanding is obviously a judge has final authority. So she can force DFCS to keep the case open and run these resources that they are supposed to give families to help families reunite. The DFCS attorney made the comment, we want to be off this case because at this point, we will be nothing but a money bag. We'll be paying for everything. We do not want to foot the bill for these therapies, forced court-ordered visits. So she's literally like, we want out. Like, you think that the girls are in danger if they go to this home. So if they go there, you're going to recuse yourself.
Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
After a whole hour of all this, the judge goes back. She didn't even say when she was coming back. She was like, okay, I'll be back. Short recess. DFCS case manager had to be gone by 3:15 to catch her plane. So she ended up leaving. I think the judge came back right at 3:30. It started out, it was hard to tell because she's reading just a bunch of stuff on what she can and can't do according to this law, this law, this law. But within a few minutes, it was, I'm going to grant the motion of moving the girls with the aunt and uncle. And it was just like, you have to be respectful in court. You can't really say hallelujah. Holding my husband's hand or have my hand on his leg. I probably bruised his leg up. I mean, I'm taking a deep breath in. I'm watching Taki. She did not move. But I saw the translator get very close to her. And later we talked that she was asking the translator, does it mean what I think it means? Is this what it means? And I saw Matt. I actually didn't want to look at Matt because I knew it would break my heart in like a happy way. It was just overwhelming. I mean, the aunt and uncle, they are both sitting right in front of me and they just like, just their bodies just excited and you're trying to be respectful. And it just felt so good to hear it. And she did at the end, the judge did say, we're going to, I guess the DFCS attorney said, can we close the case? And the judge was like, yeah. And I did not think that would happen. So this is positive. We no longer have DFCS coming to doctor's appointments. We no longer have DFCS. You don't have to go through them for anything. We don't have to see her email or her name on phones anymore. It is a very big, joyous time. The only negative to this, besides the obvious of the kids not being with their parents, is there's no more services. Matt and Taki are responsible now. They get minimum of 2 visits per week with their kids, family visits. Minimum. She didn't put a maximum. So in my mind, they can meet as many times as they want. It has to be through
Can they do daily visits?
They could. If they could set it up, it has to.
But they would have to be able to afford the supervision center.
They have to pay, and it has to be third party. So the guardian ad litem is going to approve everything, which is awesome because I'm her approving everything. She's a beautiful soul. So she can approve them. And we can even maybe look for some that aren't super expensive, right? And be able to do it that way. Matt and Taki now have to pay child support, but it goes directly to their kids. So that's not a problem. They can no longer go to medical appointments because the aunt and uncle are on the witness list, the DA witness list for the upcoming criminal. So Taki has not talked to her sister for almost a year. Matt, since he was indicted in December, has not spoken to his brother-in-law or sister-in-law. People that they had dinner with weekly, went to Hawaii with, went on camping trips every month, like people that they're very bonded with, they cannot speak to them. So this does put a little bit of an issue with transporting the girls. So the aunt and uncle are going to have to work that out through the guardian ad litem. And there's no communicating through third party. So I can't say, hey, Matt, your brother-in-law says this. I can't do that. I can't send pictures. We can't do that. It all has to go through a guardian ad litem. What's important is there's no more defects. And this is a huge win. Yeah. There are a couple of people who are posting, this isn't a victory. The kids should be with their family. And let me tell you guys, you're wrong. I've been there with the parents, with the aunt and uncle for months. This is what they've wanted. Matt and Taki are completely selfless. Yes, they want their daughters home. They know that cannot happen. That is impossible right now. They have criminal charges. It's impossible. You can't wish for something that's right now literally unobtainable. They can't. And they've wanted their daughters with the aunt and uncle so they can not have their girls in limbo, possibly adopted. We celebrated.
With the removal of defect from the situation, first of all, you've got one of the biggest manipulating entities out of the equation. You now have removed, very likely, any possibility of Matt and Taki having their parental rights terminated. The fact that this has happened makes me feel really good about the possibilities of either the criminal charges being dropped, enough evidence has been put forward that these parents did not harm their children, that criminal charges are just absurd at this point. And if they're not dismissed, there's no way anybody could go to trial and actually charge these parents. So we get through this, whether it's dropped, whether they're found not guilty, they get their kids back, right?
Yes. And yeah, everything you said is yes times 100. Matt and Taki have looked forward to every positive thing and tried to say, okay, now I can sleep tonight. Now I can wake up in the morning. I mean, Matt said that yesterday. He said, looked right at me at the courthouse and said, I think I'm going to start sleeping again.
I'm just so thankful that yesterday happened because, I mean, obviously it's not the end result yet. Well, we're not there yet. This is literally the best thing that could have happened. What a far cry we are from last week.
This couple is going to take care of them like they're their own. We no longer have to worry about that. You're talking about someone that you trust with your children. They trust them with their children. That's who they would have picked for their children. They smiled so much yesterday afternoon. Now they were in shock, but we got to smile. We got to laugh. We got to be excited that they were going the next day, which is today, where they're supposed to be. Even these other families that support and the ones you've had on your show and the ones that you're going to and some of the ones I've interviewed for, every single one of them are absolutely on fire with happiness, with joy. They are elated that something great happened for this family.
It's totally brought hope back into the situation.
We just want to thank all of our listeners who have been supporting the Hernandez family and these other families by resharing the posts on TikTok, by sharing the podcast with family members and friends. We appreciate all of you so much, and you're all a part of getting these kids home.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on social. We hope that you join us again next time and keep on fostering the future.